Greetings, friends. Welcome to today's devotional. Psalm 57. I hope you had a good Sunday, enjoyed a time of worship, somehow online or maybe in person now that some of the churches around us have opened up. Perhaps you watched Grace's recorded service and heard our bishop preach, which I thought was quite exceptional. I'm thankful that I decided to use her sermon for Holy Trinity Sunday. But anyways, continuing on with our devotion, again, Psalm 57. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me, for in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge. Until the destroying storms pass by, I cry to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. He will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame those who trample on me. God will send forth his steadfast love and his faithfulness. I lie down among the lions that greedily devour human prey. Their teeth are spears and arrows, their tongues sharp swords. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be all over the earth. They set a net for my steps. My soul was bowed down. They dug a pit in my path, but they have fallen into it themselves. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my soul. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations, for your steadfast love is as high as the heavens. Your faithfulness extends to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be all over all the earth. This here is, again, a familiar psalm, a familiar situation that we've encountered quite a number of times in the Psalms. Again, an enemy of the psalmist is attacking somehow. Don't know the nature exactly of what attack is, but there's obviously a sense of dread and fear, and a sense that the enemy could possibly take victory and overcome the psalmist, who in this case it's attributed once again to David. But there's several things that stand out in this, and because I've covered quite often the idea of enemies and forgiveness and things like that, I don't want to be too repetitive, but in the Psalms you can always find something that might resonate with you. And there's several things in this psalm that stand out to me. There's some repetitiveness in terms of what David has written here, emphasizing a couple things. One is the faithfulness of God and the steadfast love of God. And those are words that we often attribute to God because they are characteristics of who God is. And maybe that's not always been explained what those words mean. And I'm not going to go into the Hebrew of them, but faithfulness is having a sense of trustworthiness, that you can count on the things, the promises of God, and count on the nature of who God is, that God is unchanging, never is unmovable. And if there's a promise that is made to us, then you can be 100% assured of it because God is trustworthy and faithful. There will never be a time when God suddenly changes his mind or changes his character and becomes something other than that. So that's one of the reasons why having faith in God is a very it's a natural thing, because God is faithful. Whereas human life, or humans ourselves, we are not 100% faithful. There are times where we will back out of our promises, change our minds. We are sometimes more fickle. We are prone to emotion, and God is not making decisions based on emotion. And being steadfast, I think of, and I don't know why I think of this, but I think of something along the lines of the giant kelp beds off the coast of California, that they attach themselves to a rock at the base of the ocean, and there is nothing that can move those kelp beds. Now, they do occasionally become detached, but with oceans, oh, my cat is here, introducing herself. With oceans, tides, with currents, no matter what it is, those roots hold tightly to the rock and will not let go. And that's kind of how I feel about steadfastness of God. Is He's never going to let us go, never going to forsake us or leave us. And that's something else that we can always count on with God, that He is always present and always there and unchanging and unwavering. And also, just in this sense of dealing with trials in our lives, when you go to look at verse 7 or 8, awake my soul, in verse 8, awake, O harp and lyre, I will awake the dawn. And to me, just this sounds like to me that when you're experiencing something that's difficult in life, that tomorrow brings new opportunities. It's a new day. Awaking with the dawn is awaking with an endless number of possibilities for us to be blessed and to be reminded of who God is and His steadfastness and His faithfulness. But looking at verse 7, because of God's nature of being steadfast and faithful, the psalmist writes, my heart is steadfast, and he repeats that. Again, another repetitive verse. And it's only because of the steadfastness and the faithfulness of God that we can be steadfast in our love and trust in Him. Not because of anything miraculous that we have about ourselves, but because of who God is, that we can always count on better times to come, or blessings to come, or answers to prayer, whatever they might be. So, and that can lead to, again, what's also in this psalm and many others, is praising God and experiencing His glory as it fills, or as being exalted in His glory that fills the whole earth. So some really neat things in this psalm. Any number of those things you can kind of latch onto, focus on, meditate on, think about, depending on what situation you are in your life. And that's just one of the nature of how the Psalms work. There's always something in there for us. So that's our devotion for today. Tomorrow we have Psalm 58. Until then, be well.